Hi and welcome back to Classic MGB. Now last weekend I was at a meeting of the MG Car Club and was talking to somebody from the MG Car Club Speed Series. I know nothing about that series, so I've come down to Castle Combe today to find out a bit more. So I'm going to find somebody that can tell me all about the Speed Series, but in the meantime let's have a look around the paddock and see what's about. Now the event today has been organised by Bristol Pegasus Motor Club and I'm joined by their chairman, Nick Wood. Nick, tell me about this event.
Right, we've been running it for over 40 years. We're actually first to bring sprinting back to Castle Combe after quite a few years. It's for basically amateur motorsport at its best, to be honest. It's around to the MG Championship, of course, TR, Central Southern, Dews, etc. Real nice varied selection of cars. As I say, we've been running this probably 40 years now ourselves. Chris is Clark 1, I'm Clark 2. We take turns in running it. It's all volunteers. My wife is Chief Marshal. My granddaughter is doing her first year of having a paddock marshalling, and my stepson is actually doing start line. So, and my sister's doing control. So it's a bit of a family thing as well. So yeah,
absolutely a family affair. But there's such a variety of cars. But I really don't know much about how sprints or speed series work. Can you tell me a bit more about how it works? Because you've got Formula 5000 cars here and A35s, both ends of the scale. So how does it work?
Right, basically it's against the clock. You have different classes. The A35 is running in road going up to 1400. The Formula 5000 is running single-seater class, which is obviously over 2 litres. Anything goes. And David, a Formula 5000 car, is a member of the club, and it's just lovely to see the car here. It's a very historic car, and it's good to see him running it here.
Can you use any car here?
Yes, yeah, you can use any car. Obviously, you have to have a Motorsport UK licence and all the gear, your helmet and everything, but yes, you can compete with anything.
So, costs then? I mean, it's got to be fairly cost effective, this, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's fine as long as you don't blow it up or stick it in the barriers. It's probably cheaper than playing golf for a year, unless it goes wrong.
Yeah. So, assuming you've bought the car, what other costs are there? What do you need an ARDS licence? Presumably not.
No, you don't need an ARDS licence. You need a National B non-race, which is obviously then you go into the single-seaters, which you'll need a National A licence. But you can actually start off an absolute bog standard road car and keep it standard, and in that way you can compete. You start stripping it out, then you go modified, then it gets more expensive, then you have to have HANS devices. In the road going class, you don't even have HANS devices, you don't even have a full harness, just basically a standard road going car.
And so to compete in an event like this, I could turn up in my road-going MGB-GT
absolutely,
and drive it. And what would that cost me?
It's £130, which motorsport-wise is quite cheap, but considering you only get 4 laps. But yeah, it's still a cheap form of motorsport.
Yeah, it's kind of cheaper than a track day, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Which reminds me, we do a really good track day in August, which we haven't got the dates for it next year, which is probably the cheapest track day here, which if you join Bristol Pegasus, you get your discount, and it's an extremely good track day.
Excellent. Well, Nick, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. I think it's a lovely event, and maybe see me here next year driving.
Excellent. Right, lovely. Thank you.
Cheers.
Good. Cheers.
Now I found an MGB-GT. It's a beautiful red in MGB-GT. It's Richard Watkinson's, and as luck would have it, Richard's actually leading the championship at the moment. So he's the ideal person to tell me exactly how it all works. Richard, explain how it works.
Well, nobody really knows how it works. We have target times, so every class has a target time. We start with a standard class, which is literally a standard car. Standard seatbelts, a standard car through and through. We then go to a Group 2 car, which is slightly modified cylinder head, lowered suspension, but otherwise a standard car. And then you go to the Group 3, which are Weber carburetors and higher powered engines. Group 4 are the full racing cars on slicks. So that's the grouping right across the MG Car Club Speed Championship.
Right.
In a way, we set our own targets because our times are then set as target times.
Right.
So the best times are set as target times.
Okay.
If we achieve our target time, we achieve 100 points.
Right.
If we achieve in excess of our target time, it's a maximum of 102 points. If we achieve 95% of our target time, it's 95 points.
Right.
And then when you've done 8 events, your lower scores drop off.
Right.
So I dropped off a 93 and a 95.
And I suppose the nice thing with that, it sort of equates across all the classes.
It does.
That's quite a clever way of doing it.
It does. It does. I can come out in a barely modified car and theoretically beat full race spec car.
How long have you been doing it?
25 years. Yeah.
Right.
The camaraderie is absolutely fantastic. If you break your car, they'll come and mend it for you, and then they'll go out and beat you.
But I think that's it with MG, isn't it? It's, They call it the mark of friendship, and actually
Absolutely,
it does seem to be. You know, everybody in the whole sort of area
yeah.
seems to be really, really friendly.
Yeah.
So why an MG?
I've been married 50 years now, or a few more than that, and our very first car was a frog-eyed Sprite. So we've always had this affinity to the mark, you might say, whether it's a frog eye or whether it's a midget. That and then when the kids were sort of off my hands 25 years ago, I restored an Austin Healey Sprite, and I took it to a show. And the judge said I'd painted the engine the wrong colour, I got the wrong hubcaps on the wheels, something else. And I just thought, I don't think this is for me, really. So I went along to Kerborough, met the owner of this car, actually, who was the Speed Championship coordinator. He said, well, all you need is a pair of overalls and a helmet, Richard, come and join us, which I did. It went from there, really.
Is the last round coming up today?
It is, yeah. Last round, yeah.
So hopefully you're in with a good chance of winning.
Hopefully, yeah.
Richard, all I can say is thank you very much. Very best of luck. It's not just the MG Car Club Speed Series here that's got MGs in it. Classic Marks are also doing something. Now, they do something slightly different in terms of the championship. And I'm with Paul Weller, who drives this lovely yellow MGB. Paul, tell me a bit about this championship and how it works.
Well, we start the year with a power and a weight test, and that gets fed into the club's formula along with a few other factors, like if you've got leaf springs, if you've got any other driver aid assistances within the car or not, or panhard rods located in the back axle, etc. And you end up with a ratio number, and when you do a time, that gets supplied to the time to adjust it to level out the whole series.
See, so you're in a standard MGB or a highly modified something else?
I'm halfway. I've got 109 brake horsepower, 1860 and a 270 cam on SUs still.
But in terms of the championship, you could be on level terms effectively with some of the much more modified stuff.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't want to be back of the pack, even if it works formula-wise. And it gets expensive to aim at the top. So the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle with good torque.
And why choose an MGB to race?
Well, I had a VX220 turbo previous to this, and to be competitive, it scared me. So I wanted something I could drive hard and still stand a chance. And this is perfect. I can virtually drive it flat out for virtually most of the circuit, and it's within what I feel comfortable doing.
Now, there are some people that can actually run in both the Classic Marks and the MG Car Club Championship, Speed Championship. One of those is Rob Offord. I'm with Rob, and he's got a very modified B. So, Rob, tell me a bit about what's the difference between your car and a standard B.
Well, this one here I bought in 2012. I'd run a GT before that, which I smashed up. It was previously owned by a David Townsend who lived in Kent, and I had seen him at Goodwood race circuit on many occasions and admired it. So I said to David, I'd like to buy your car one day. So smashing it up 2 days later, I asked him and went down to Kent and we did the deal over the kitchen table. So the car is basically the heritage shell, 1965. It has a 1950cc engine, full race head, Weber carburetor. The gearbox is a straight cut, close ratio, through to limited slip diff in the back, and it runs on 1B tyres. That's about it, really. I mean, MGBs are a heavy car. You can't get away from that. It's old technology against where we are in this class, as you know, Porsches and everything else. But I do have a handicap, which does help me. So this car is producing about 150 horsepower at the flywheel, which is not bad, really.
Not bad for a B. No, I mean, so the handicapping system basically works. It measures your car's performance.
Correct.
And then you're measured against that. So everybody.
So what happens should do every 2 years, it goes on the rolling road. So they know what the horsepower is. The car is weighed. Then it's weighed with the driver, and I wish I could lose some weight, but I can't. So that's how the handicap works. So what the horsepower is, the weight of the car, what tyres you're running, and that gives me a handicap. And at the moment, I'm at 90.101. Now, compared to probably a Porsche is 94, 95. So it does give me a little bit of edge. I still got to drive pretty quick to catch them. This is a 2-litre car and I'm against 4-litre cars, so I'm never going to win, but sometimes I do on hill climbs.
So why an MGB? Because it's obviously not the most ideal car for what you're doing.
No. I think I've always been MG. When I first passed my test back a few years ago, I had a minivan. I progressed to an MG midget, which was modified for sprints and hill climbs. And then I got married. I was running a race mini, raced here many times before, but business took over and I didn't do much. And I worked for Grinley's Bank for quite a number of years, but then it allowed me to get back into motorsport, and I bought an MGB-GT and then to this one. So I've been in motorsport since 1966, really. So.
But speed is a different thing to track racing.
Yes.
For me, it kind of appeals because the only person that can damage your car is you.
Quite right, absolutely right. It's you against the vehicle and other people as well, but it's how clever you are. You go to Prescott or you go to Loughton Park. This is where this car will come into its own. So it's I like it, and it's good friendly rivalry at the end of the day. Yeah.
Now, one of the things people always worry about with motorsport is safety, and actually this sprint event is probably one of the safest, but medical services are also really important as circuit, and we've caught up with Chris Mason, who is the chief medical person here. Chris, tell me a bit about your job.
So I'm the medical services manager here at Castle Combe. So I look after the day-to-day running of the medical centre and all the medical provisions for the circuit and for the racing club. During the week, I also man the rescue unit, so I cover fire rescue and paramedicine.
So racing has got a lot safer. I mean, I watched racing in the 70s, Jackie Stewart campaigned for safer racing, and I guess in the time you've been here, you've seen racing get safer. Are there more things that are likely to happen to make it safer? Is there much more that can be done?
The vehicles are always getting a lot safer. So back in the 60s, 70s, they were losing an F1 driver pretty much every weekend. Nowadays, the build from the cars is much better. And generally, the circuits are a lot better. We have big rectocell barriers, which are big foam barriers, which soften the impact and reduce a lot of the damage to the point where the drivers can drive off a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, in Grand Prix, I remember reading Jackie Stewart's book where he was lying on the floor of the so-called medical hut and there were dog ends around, and it's changed a bit now, I guess.
Yes, it has, yeah. So our medical centre's changed a lot over the years. It's got bigger and bigger. So from a single room, we now have 2 treatment areas. The equipment's changed from what we use as well. So when we first started, the hydraulics we used to use cut with 5 tons. The stuff we're using now, the whole matro, is cutting with 90 tons.
So take me through on a race day. So you, presumably the marshals at, say, Quarry, say, somebody's off at Quarry. What happens then?
They'll make an insta-call upstairs where the rescue's needed. If rescue is needed, the rescue unit will get scrambled from quarry, and the fire car we have here will also get scrambled from the pit lane, and so will one of the medical cars. We have two of those, two Honda CRV medical cars. They'll get scrambled to the scene. The crew manager will make an instant decision on, how the driver is and things like that, and we'll come up with a plan on, can they just step them out, can they get them out, and it goes from there really. So thankfully 98% of the drivers we see are able to step out of the vehicles themselves.
Just a bruise or two.
Just a bruise, a bit of ego and certainly some wallet damage. But on the odd occasions that we do have to get the kit out, the guys are quite well trained, and we'll get the hydraulics out, and we'll end up, if they have to, cut the people out of the cars.
Yeah, quite a challenging job though.
It can be, yes. Yeah, very, very challenging at times. There's a lot of sitting around doing nothing, but you go from sort of zero to full on very quickly.
Absolutely, yeah. Chris, on behalf of everybody that comes to Castle Combe, thank you so much for what you do. I think it wouldn't happen without people like you. Now, I couldn't have come to Castle Combe without at least dabbling in the dark side, and I've caught up with Howard Holcroft, who drives this black Triumph TR4. So tell me, how's it gone today, Howard?
Okay so far. We've not crashed and we've not blown up. So that's always a plus, we always think, yes. And the sun's come out, even though I prefer the rain, because we can, in lower powered, we can normally win in the rain where we can't in the dry against the big cars. But it's still nicer to be dry than be wet.
So you're in the TR Championship. The TR Register Championship. So is the car pretty standard, or is it quite modified?
It's what's called an FIA car, so it's all period modifications. It's a race car, but basically it's all standard. It has to have a standard engine and gearbox, though it can be tuned, and the suspension has to be standard and the brakes have to be standard. So it's standard, but a lot quicker than they were originally. A lot quicker, load more horsepower.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, there is this rivalry, and I make a joke of it, between MG and Triumph. But so why do you drive the Triumph rather than an MG or something else?
Because it's more frightening. Because it doesn't handle as well, it's actually more exciting. The MGBs, a bit sort of, you feel like the car's done it for you, where you feel like you've done it in a TR.
So you heard it here first, that the MGB handles better than the Triumph,
right.
yeah?
Yes, yep.
Excellent.
Well, the TR's for more fun. And I like the underdog, been faster in the underdog car as well.
And you did tell me before you have MG in the family.
Yes. We are MG owners as well. Yes.
That's fantastic.
My son's in Austin, so he's sort of
Excellent. And what makes speed trials, sprints so special?
They're very relaxed. You haven't got to worry about knocking anybody else off. If you make a mistake, you take 6 other competitors out. So just a lot less stress and just less on the car. In a race, you probably do a 40-minute race, and you soon get through engines and gearboxes, and you get very, very expensive. And the entry cost is an awful lot less. A race here 3 weeks ago, my friend was £950 for a 40-minute race where we paid £150. So money's a lot of difference,
So it's pretty cost effective to do this. You can do it, as I understand, sort of 100 and something quid. You need some race overalls, some boots.
Yeah. You can go in a totally standard car, just need a helmet and overalls, which you can get for £500 for the lot, and you timing strut on the front, and you're away. That's it.
Well, I know I love MGBs and MGB-GTs, but I have to say my favourite car here has got to be this McLaren. So I thought I'd catch up with Dave Roberts, who drives the thing. So, Dave, tell me a bit about your car.
The car's 1971 McLaren M18, built that year for the European Formula 5000 Championship. It was quite famous in motor racing in general up to about that period. Since then, it was raced at the Historic Sports Car Club racing for a while. Did a few sprints and hill climbs with the previous owner. He had it up until 2017 when we got hold of it, and we've been doing a few demos, a few runs, bit of hill climbing, bit of sprinting, just for fun really ever since. And it's great fun. Gets a crowd round it everywhere you go, and it's good for other people to enjoy it.
So there you go. That's a day at a Castle Combe sprint event. And there's lots of these sprint events around the country. There's also hill climbs that these guys do. Lots of fantastic cars and some really, really lovely people. We'll definitely be back. Who knows? Maybe I'll be driving my GT as well. If you've enjoyed the video, it'd be great if you give it a like, give it a share and subscribe to the channel, because as you know, that really helps us. As always, many thanks for watching and take care.